Our next speaker is David S. Rose. David is a serial entrepreneur, angel investor. By the way, everybody can hear me, right? And see me? Oh, yeah. Okay, good. And the founder of ventures like Digital Evolution and Gust. David is deeply committed to cultivating tomorrow's leaders, evident from his leadership at New York Angels and Singularity University. His best-selling book on angel investing and an inspiring TED Talk that's a playbook for entrepreneurs underline his unmatched expertise. Recognized globally from the Forbes dubbing David as New York's archangel, to being a top voice on platforms like Quora, we're not just listening to an expert, but a visionary. Let's warmly welcome David S. Rose.
Talk was fascinating, 100% on target, scary, unsettling, and I think the more impressive, precisely because he was talking from a position of near-term rationality. This is not a question of what's going to happen post the singularity in the year 3000 or whatever is, nor is it the Luddite, the world's coming to an end. But rather, it was somebody who was here in the trenches working in this area. And it's a very nuanced, this is the challenge we have today. And we need to come up with a framework to deal with it, not a particular answer. So, Eric, I'd love to have a discussion with you at some point on these futures, because I think the questions you've raised have been absolutely fascinating. Okay, so to move away from the existential questions that Eric was dealing with and talking about the question of entrepreneurship and AI. As many of you know, I'm an associate founder of Singularity University and SU's founding track chair for finance, entrepreneurship, and economics. I'm going to talk today about the interplay of entrepreneurship and AI, because AI is where we're all going. And so I've got some slides, so if you should be able to see, if you're in the zone, you should be able to see both me and a pop-up box for my slides as well. So you can make that larger by dragging on that particular box. So the question today is entrepreneurship and AI. As an investor, I'm both an entrepreneur, fifth generation entrepreneur, as well as a venture capitalist and active angel investor, founded New York Angels, wrote the standard textbook on how to be an angel investor. And so when investors like me look at a company, what are we actually looking at? And the answer is we look first and foremost at the person. And in this technological era, the question is, who are we looking at? What do we want to see in those people? And the answer may somewhat surprise you, because despite the fact that we're in a technological era, what we're looking for is actually not the techie. It's not the technical person is not the absolute most important thing, because you are dealing with humans, a human interface. But it's not the UX designer, the human interface designer either, because you can have tech in a vacuum and design in a vacuum without a person. That doesn't work. And so you need to have a focus on the customer and sales. But surprisingly, the salesperson and the go-to-market person isn't the most important person either, because you're ultimately creating a business. And I see those dollar signs coming out of the audience. But you know what? The business person isn't the person we're looking at either. Because in reality, any one of those people, any one of those skill sets can roll into something that we are looking for. And the most important thing we're looking for is the entrepreneur, capital T, capital E. And you can combine the entrepreneur with a techie and you get Bill Gates. You can combine the entrepreneur with a designer, a user interface person, and you get Steve Jobs. Combine an entrepreneur with a salesperson, you get Mark Cuban. Combine an entrepreneur with a business person, you get Mike Bloomberg, who is neither a techie nor designer nor salesperson, but is a great business person. So the question is, what are we looking for? And it's the entrepreneur. And why is that so special? And why is that something that the vast majority of people don't actually understand? And that's because entrepreneurs fundamentally are a different breed of cat. If you go to the dictionary and you ask what an entrepreneur is, the dictionary will tell you an entrepreneur is a person This gets back to Eric's thing about humanity. It's not a business. It's not an organization, a charity foundation. It is a person. And a person who does what? A person who organizes and operates. That means you got to have the idea. You got to get it going, and you got to keep it going. And organizes and operates what? Organizes and operates a business or businesses, because entrepreneurialism is essentially about business. There can be amazing people doing great things with charities or the church or whatever it is, but ultimately entrepreneurs are about business. And then the dictionary goes on, this person is taking on a greater than normal. This person is abnormal. Definitionally, according to the dictionary, entrepreneurs are abnormal people. And I think those of us in the room here who are entrepreneurs would agree with the fact that we are abnormal. All right. So we take on greater than normal what? Well, financial risks to do so. And so it comes down to, this is not a side gig. This is your heart and soul. And you are, pledging your lives, your fortune, and your sacred honor, and the fortune being the key part here, to get something done and to create something. Okay. So why are these people not your usual run-of-the-mill person, these entrepreneurs? What do they like? Well, the answer is they think fundamentally differently from everybody else. So let's say that there is a goal. Let's say your goal is this wonderful golden ring over there. There's only one slight problem with that golden ring, which is there's this big mountain between you and the golden ring. So what happens? A regular person, a normal person, looks at this and says, wow, I'd like to get that ring, but there's this mountain in the middle, so sorry, can't do it. And I go home. And then there are two types of entrepreneurs. One type of entrepreneur, accounting for most of the people who start most of the businesses, small independent businesses in America and around the world. That person comes in and says, okay, I can do this. I want to get to that ring, but there's that mountain there. So, I got to figure up a way over that mountain. Or I got to figure a way around that mountain. Or maybe even I can marshal my resources and get a tunnel boring machine and figure out my way through the mountain. But I'm going to get there. I'm going to overcome these obstacles. I'm going to rationally approach this and get past this obstacle to get to the end game. But then the person we're trying to invest in for entrepreneurial startups actually doesn't work that way. Instead, the entrepreneur we're looking at is this 1 in 100 people who are what we call natural born entrepreneurs. And this person just thinks about the whole problem completely differently. This person says, all right, there's that ring over there. I'd like to get that ring. No, there's a mountain thing. Forget that. But what happens if the mountain wasn't there? What happens if it just disappeared? What if the world were fundamentally different? So great, I'll go change the world. I'll make the world fundamentally different. Then I'll just walk over and take the ring. And that fundamental mental difference between the way entrepreneurs think and the way normal people think is one of the key aspects of this. And by the way, if you're interested in more of this, how entrepreneurs think kind of thing, there's a great website called effectuation.org coming out of the University of Virginia, which discusses this at length. And so what we're seeing here from this is these personal characteristics and qualities of the entrepreneur that get this business going, not any of the technology or design or functional things. So therefore, what does that mean? Well, it means the entrepreneur doesn't have to be a techie per se or a salesperson, but the entrepreneur does have to organize and operate this business. And that turns out, regardless of what your background is a whole bunch of stuff that you got to do. You got to figure out what market you're going to be in and identify the problems and the challenges. What's the business? What's the business model? What are your strategy? Okay, who are your customers? How are you going to, what is your unique selling point? What are the risks? How are you to overcome the risks? You got to incorporate and become an entity, and you got to structure it. You got to find somehow the product get developed, decide what the product is, develop the product. You got to get it financed, which means you got to be able to tell your story and go raise financing and design all that kind of stuff. All of those things are not related to a particular skill set, but they are essential for the entrepreneur to do it. And that's why, although there are millions and millions of people who would like to start companies and who are entrepreneurial and want to start companies, the problem is there's a boatload of stuff that gets in the way between having a company and having the idea for a company. And wouldn't it be great in this era of AI if there was a special AI, go to ChatGPT and say, hey, ChatGPT, start me a company? Well, the interesting thing is that this AI is moving so fast. Remember, ChatGPT was released less than 1 year ago. And there are now a plethora, hundreds, thousands literally, of LLMs and AI applications. And there happens to be one you probably haven't heard of because it's just coming out of stealth mode right now, which is for entrepreneurs designed to start a business. So let's say you say, okay, I'm in the education space. What are they, what can I do in this education space? I can do something for kids, say to help children learn, maybe through an online thing, through quizzes or something. Okay, AI, go and create a business for me. Well, that might actually look like this. Take a look at this, somewhat accelerated, but you can figure out what's going on here. Screen grab of business, of a platform that actually uses chains of thought to leverage AI to create all the various components of starting a business, from gathering data to understanding it, to seeing what the challenges are and the risks, and how do you deal with them, and what would the product look like, and effectively go through this entire operation for you, the kinds of things that an entrepreneur has to do. Let the AI do all that dirty work over here, from the analytics and the designing what you're doing and writing your summaries and seeing how this affects the market and so on and so forth. By the way, the company is called Thinkable, Thinkable. And so thinkable.co is doing this. This is how you create a business. Okay, so then you've got all that work done for you, and I've got to actually build the business. So guess what? Well, you can keep going. You can now say, hey, Thinkable, okay, you figured out what the business is. Go now actually build me the product. And this helps, of course, if it's the kind of online product that you can do. And so here, go ahead and create this thing. We'll call it Quizly, right? So now go ahead and create the platform that will let us create this product. They have their personal information and their preferences and stuff, and provides appropriate feedback. And so using these chains of thought, this meta level AI, where the AI decides what to feed into the AI, where the AI at a top level takes a little bit of input from you, the essential thing, the humanity, the essential thing coming from the entrepreneur, and then goes through the whole background of making this actually turning it into a product. Right? So now you have that, and you say, well, cool, write the quizzes, create the product. So now you've had AI design the business, you've had AI design the product, and create this thing that somebody can go out and use for that. All right, that's pretty good with my one-person entrepreneur over here. But now, having done that, I still got to go out and find somebody, hopefully, to pitch it to help me fund it, to pay for my marketing and so on and so forth. Now, with AI-based platforms, the cost of doing these things and starting these properties is lower, but I got to have a pitch deck. So now I watch this one. I'm now going to switch to real time and show you I can take the 100 token description of this business for Quizly, developed by the Thinkable AI, and I can feed it into another AI app. This is now in real time feed. Watch what's happening. Develop me the entire pitch for Quizly. Okay, cool. Remember, this is happening in real time, fed only with 100 tokens coming out of the previous AI output. And it creates literally an entire pitch deck going over everything an investor would want to know in terms of what's special about you, what market are you hitting, all taking from the AI, going out and finding public domain artwork to do, creating, if necessary, AI-generated art, giving the background and the history and showing how the business model relates to the revenue, this and that, unlocks the whole thing, and turning it into the kind of effective. This isn't a TED level presentation, but it's very good. It's structuring the presentation appropriately with design and graphics and storytelling to give you the kind of story. And you can, of course, tweak all this as a person. But this is what investors want to hear. They want to hear the through line story for what you're actually doing. Wow, if that doesn't impress you, it should. There's something wrong with you, because that's really impressive. But what happens if you don't really like public speaking and you'd like to have the AI do the speech for you? Well, okay, take a look at this.
Generative artificial intelligence by itself is only the tip of the iceberg. Combining generative AI with AI-powered tools and platforms adds the ability to fine-tune, translate, update, and enhance literally everything along the entrepreneurial journey. As just one example, the audio for this paragraph was generated instantaneously in my own voice by an AI platform called Descript.
So there you have it. I literally fed in some recordings of my voice, into Descript. It then worked overnight, generated a complete clone of my voice. And now, yeah, your mind is blown. Your mind should be blown. And I can just now type out what I'm saying, and boom, it created the entire speech for me. Or you can actually feed it in a video of me giving a presentation like this and then run it through there. It does speech to text translation. It matches the text to the video. And now you can edit your video, not with a video editor by taking out frames and stuff, but you can edit your video by text. And if you want to replace some of your text, you can just take the text, type it the new thing, and my own voice will recreate the text going in there. Pretty cool, huh? All right, but well, wait a minute. We're living in this globalized world. What happens if I want to, be able to do my application in different languages? Well, guess what? AI can actually do translations. Google Translate's been around for a while. What happens if I wanted to actually do my pitch in another language? Or for example, here we are in the Singularity thing where we have an international group and an international audience over here. Well, we all know Salim. Salim is my buddy and the original director of SU. Watch what something that Salim recently uploaded, if you think that will blow your mind.
Doubling pattern is now occurring in a dozen texts en día. Este patrón de duplicación lineal a exponencial es que mientras hemos visto la ley de Moore y este paradigma basado en la información durante 60 años, ahora ocurre en una docena de tecnologías. Es dass wir dieses lineare bis exponentielle Verdopplungsmuster inzwischen in einem Dutzend Technologien sehen, während wir Moores Law und dieses informationsbasierte Paradigma seit 60 Jahren beobachten. So the reason this is so fundamental today, this linear to exponential doubling pattern, mientras hemos visto la ley de Moore y este paradigma basado en la información durante 60 años, paradigma seit 60 Jahren beobachten.
So the bottom line is this is taking text, doing speech to text, translate this using a clone of his own voice to play it back. So next year, and for those of you who were here last year at VADM for the Singularity get together, next year, you can see this year is much better already and the platform is much more advanced. Next year, I can probably be standing up here and giving this presentation in 6 languages simultaneously based on whatever language coming from. And the world around us will automatically adapt to do that. So therefore, to sort of bring this back to what is this, application of entrepreneurship, will AI totally replace entrepreneurs in the future? No, it will not, because I come back to the same place, Eric, is there is something that is inherently human about us, and we need to cherish and celebrate that humanity. And ultimately, while AI and all of the tools that we have available to us in this exponential future can do more and more and more of the functional things, from designing a product to writing code to developing a marketing plan to coming up with the appropriate market fit over there, ultimately it comes down to this abnormal person who is the entrepreneur to create something. And for those of you who are part of the OpenEXO universe and the Singularity universe, you may have heard my talk about the future of work and economics, in which I will predict that the number of people who will be economically unemployable within the time frame we are talking about here, right? 10 years plus or minus, as Eric was saying, to get to general AI. So I believe that within 10 years, we will have something approaching 75% of the population who is economically unemployable, no matter how hard they work, how well-intentioned they are, what they want to do. And that's going to be a problem. And the people, if you say, who are the 25% that are left? Well, you know what? Those 25% who are left start with entrepreneurs, that 1% of entrepreneurs, because now enabled with these incredible tools, they can come on and they can create all kinds of things. And the companies they start are not going to be million employee companies. As you've seen, Walmart is going increasingly to automation. McDonald's is going to automation. Tesla requires 6 people to build a car as opposed to 100,000. So you're seeing many jobs disappearing, and therefore the people who will be in the remaining jobs are people who have college educations, who have the ability to see and think and reason that will let them play a role in these new entrepreneurial companies. And so therefore, you're going to have effectively, I believe, 1% of the world of these entrepreneurs who are starting companies. You will then maybe have another 8% of the population who will have the STEM and creative and humanistic skills that will be needed by those entrepreneurs to create these companies, these ventures that will make use of technology to change the world. And then technology will enable a whole nother group of people. And those are what I call entrepreneurial personal producers. They're people who in this era, even of technology, will be able to create value, whether you're talking about a lover, a companion, a hairstylist, somebody who would do something that you would still want at this point to have a human do. And they can also manage their own career. As Reid Hoffman wrote in The Startup of You, everybody is going to be their own startup. And so you'll be having the hairstylist who will, on their own business, rent a chair in a salon from a salon, and they will make sure that their reputation online is great, their 5-star rating on Yelp or whatever. They will book their own repeat clients and handle their business, and platforms will help them do the marketing and the booking and the management and pay their taxes and so on and so forth. And so just as today, we have platforms such as Uber, which allows for Uber drivers, and Airbnb, which allows for Airbnb hosts, and Etsy, which allows for Etsy sellers. These are all platforms that are enabling these entrepreneurial personal producers. And while autonomous vehicles are going to blow the Uber drivers out of the operation over here, we'll see. Maybe Etsy sticks around for a bit. Maybe Airbnb sticks around for a bit. But there will be other platforms arising that will enable people who have an interest and a passion and are entrepreneurial themselves and can create personal value to be players in this entrepreneurial space. So what percentage of the population do we think are going to be entrepreneurial and able to produce personal production value in this society? So if we said there were 8% of those STEM creative types, maybe double that to 16% of the population will be these entrepreneurial personal producers who still have something human to contribute from an economic perspective. All right. So let's add that up. 1% of entrepreneurs and 8% of STEM and creative and 16% of entrepreneurial personal producers. And that takes us to 25%. And after that, there's a very real problem, because after that, economically, this point Eric was making, that AI and technology will be able to do everything better, faster, and cheaper. And those 75% of the population, plus or minus, in plus or minus 10 years, will be economically unemployable, which means that we as a population have to figure out what to do with this. How do we retain our humanity? How do we keep our species going and growing and fed to make this work? And that is the challenge that we have in the years ahead. How we can harness all of this technology, exponentially growing, as we all know, to preserve our humanity, as Eric pointed out, to enter this wonderful land of abundance that Peter and Ray are talking about. It's going to be a challenge getting there. It's not going to be easy. But luckily, I think, like all of us, like Peter and Ray and Eric and Gina and everybody else who's going to be speaking today, or most people, I think, coming out of the singularity mindset, I believe that we will be able to make it to this world of abundance, and that ultimately the future of people is going to be a very positive one. And so in that positive, along the way to get to that positive future, we require entrepreneurs. And that's why a lot of the folks who are in this room now are entrepreneurs. And so therefore, let's bring it back and help you find some of these tools. All right. So here you go. This is a list of tools, partly put together from Singularity. This past week in Miami, the alumni from Singularity, we had Camp Singularity for 3 or 4 days in Miami, which was a whole lot of fun, getting some of the band back together again. And a lot of folks, some people were in the room today who were down at a sessions AI. How do you create businesses? And this is a list of, and I'll make this available in the downloadable material that I'll send it to Greg so you can get a copy of this with appropriate credit to Singularity U. But basically, this shows you the kinds of tools that entrepreneurs can use to create these new businesses, whether they are interactive chat tools that let you bounce things off and get information. We all know where that's going, ChatGPT and Bing and Bard and Claude. from Anthropic. These are all now have got billions of dollars of economics invested in them, and they are increasingly at a very rapid speed. And keep in mind that it's less than 1 year since the first of these was released with ChatGPT. What they are doing now is they are getting all of these remarkable APIs and extensions. So now all of these can go out and hit Google and hit Bing and search engines and add that in. So even though their large language models were trained back in 21, you're now seeing them being able to bring in current data. And these current data and things that are happening can help form what the entrepreneur does, how you think about it, where you go. In terms of jumping ahead to business, I gave you the Thinkable API to create entire businesses out of this. They've already created businesses in everything from writing scripts for Hollywood to drafting patent applications and so on and so forth. Daydream is about creating the strategic and creative briefs that you then either feed into other AIs or use yourself for advertising and marketing and business creation. In terms of image generation, which from a standing start in just a few years, once you base it on these LLMs, is enabling you to do extraordinary things. And whether you're talking about things like Stable Diffusion is now available in real time through Poe. If you haven't seen that, I should put that on here as well. POE, Platform for Open Exploration, created by Quora, the Q&A website. Poe lets you access literally 1,000 bots, one subscription, and you have an instant, immediate access, both as a person by typing into a chat field or for developers via API to all kinds of things, including these graphic image generations. You can just type in, show me a singularity in the metaverse, and it will give you a picture of that. Video generation, you can do entire presentations like this, type it out, have AI create the presentations, read it, visualize it, create your avatar. There's a whole lot of stuff for back-end research to design all kinds of stuff. I've just given you some demos here of Descript was it's actually Descript, not Description, is the one that did the automatic voice cloning of me. HeyGen is the one that did Salim's translation piece over there. You've got things that Copilot and Adrenaline. These are all used for coding, and it's like having pair programming with the world's greatest coder. And then there are a whole bunch of things beyond this. So these are all the kinds of tools that you can use as an entrepreneur to help you as a solo entrepreneur do things that would have been previously unthinkable. And for those of you who are in the entrepreneurial space, I will leave you with some resources. That's a QR code you can scan. If you can get it on your video there. This is linked to a resource page that I've put together with all kinds of tools for entrepreneurs, including some presentations about fundraising and how the fundraising universe works, tools that we offer at Gust to incorporate and start your business, and a whole host of other things, all including the 12,000 answers that I've written on Quora about all this kind of stuff. So I hope you find that useful. I think the singularity is a good thing. I am an optimist. We were right when we began to nail this 15 years ago with the funding of AU, and I think we are into an extraordinary future. It's not going to be easy to get there. It's not going to be fast and smooth to get there, but we will get to this world of abundance. So thank you all. Welcome to the metaverse. Welcome to this forthcoming singularity, and thank you, Greg.
Thank you, David S. Rose. It was beautiful, and I'm excited to check out that list of AI tools and try them out myself.